cameras are working.
Come on, Fred.
Which ones?
You're demeaning the whole nature of
I'm
the
actually
business.
in the smut business. I do. I just did Last Hoe on the left. If you're interested, and that's the truth. I also did Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. I'm kind of a quality pornographer.
Any movie that Sean or Wes does, he makes a joke of and makes a...
Well, Mark's working on a film. He's writing and directing. I am too. But
Yeah, I started a picture in, I think, we started pre-production in January with a little action movie called Wrong Side of Towns that'll, hopefully, I think, if everything goes well, be starring a wrestler, Rob Van Dam. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He's a WWE wrestler. And somebody wants to make a movie with him, so...
And I'm a pre-production on a film called Places for the Heart, which is a two-character love story that takes place on the West Coast on Highway 1, and we're planning on filming sometime in February.
Were you doing a movie House in the Middle of Nowhere?
What movie is that?
I read about it in like
No, that was a
online,
song.
House in the Middle of Nowhere.
That was the road leads.
No.
No. He's got. I'm trying to recall that. I'm having a senior moment here. Now, what
Or were you asked to do
the House in the Middle of Nowhere?
Yeah. I've heard.
You know something? I seem to remember there's a bird that just whispered in my ear. There's this cunt called David DeFalco, who really is parading around as a man, and that was the film. I'm sorry. I don't like the man. I'm sorry.
We're on freaking
Don't like him.
television here. Hey! What the hell's with you? By the way, Jeramie is. Jeramie's looking for another rich guy to marry.
Yeah.
You guys know any old movie stars that need a wife? I mean, she's a good
I have
wife.
a great Hollywood wife.
One more question, Dave. How did they use your music in Cabin Fever? How did that happen?
He paid me. He came to me and he paid me. And my kids actually, Bo and Jesse, recorded the. They did a remake of the theme song from Last House, and I thought they did an incredible job. It was really great. And then they have a couple of their own. They're working on a CD of their own right now. It's like a work in progress. Jesse's somewhere around here. I don't think he's here, but he's wandering around somewhere.
Him and Frank are checking out banks.
Yeah.
Too young a crowd.
Yeah, that was kind of,
Not a Western fan.
that's kind of an interesting thing because Eli is one of the hottest commodities now in Hollywood, and Eli Roth, the guy that directed the Cabin Fever, and they seem to let it go to their heads, kind of turn left a little bit, and all of a sudden they start to believe their publicity. So I'm watching this happen with him too, but it's okay.
Did you know what happened to Sandra Castle and Lucy Grantham?
I think we killed them and they were never seen again. I heard that they were very depressed.
Sandra's a nut. Lucy,
Has a
her
PhD.
father owns Hershey, so she's kind of retired. Probably lives on Park Avenue.
She lives in this little chocolate house,
Whoa. Don't quit your day job, dude. You are not going to make it as a stand-up dog.
That was always the case.
Any other questions?
You guys don't want to ask Marty anything? Come on.
Marty's
Sorry,
star.
I'm doing
Excuse me, Rambo 2 was like the last movie that Sylvester Stallone ever made, the last good movie he ever made. Is he hard to get along with? Because I figured now that Schwarzenegger was in politics, he could team up again with James Cameron. Schwarzenegger was in all the good James Cameron movies. I mean, get him a career back, We need Stallone, Can he make another good movie with James Cameron?
Slice 50. He ain't no kid no more.
I'll tell you one thing about Schwarzenegger. He lives in my home. I live in Sun Valley, Idaho, and he took his pants off a couple of years ago and flashed me. And now he is the governor. I mean,
Are you serious?
yeah. Yes, he did. He grabbed me, he wouldn't let go of me, and so finally I started hitting on him, and his kids were with him, and I said to him, if I called you on half of your shit, you'd put your tail between your legs and run home. And he said, oh, really? And he let go of me. And he unbuckled his pants and dropped them. right in front of the restaurant in Sun Valley, because that's who he really is. I mean, he's a funny guy. But it is true that he's got a great sense of humor, and he really does grab women all the time. And now he's the governor.
I did his first movie, Hercules in New York, and I'm telling you guys the honest. The original Hercules in New York has Arnold's voice dubbed.
Right.
And that's pretty
and
sad. But the
probably-
other co-star is Arnold Stang.
Probably when they decide that he's going to be president, they'll ask somebody to come in and dub all his speeches too.
Like our
He's
current
got
president.
charisma, and he's very funny.
Yeah, well, you know, they're going to have, incidentally, in order for him to be president, they have to change the Constitution.
Right.
He'll do that. George will do it for him. You guys all go out there and vote for George and then kiss your kids goodbye.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But you won't have to worry about anybody coming here on jihads. Any Arabs here, I apologize. Stop fucking blowing up things. We didn't do nothing to you. It's them, not us. We like Arabs.
Is this a political
Especially Arab
forum?
women.
I had no idea.
Lift up the veil and say, oh my God.
Are there any other questions about Last House on the Left?
Would you like to hear the story of Last House on the Left from a political point of view?
No.
It was basically an anti-violence film.
Violence film.
It was peace and love, except
It really was. It was anti-violence. This was a planned thing,
Look, it
but all
says
the cast, and we wanted to snap the synapses. We wanted to go overboard to a degree that people would be so horrified by the amount of violence that they would walk out and say, "This cannot happen." And that really was. Go on, finish.
Before Last House on the Left, if you look at American film, before our picture, violence was portrayed in two ways. It was portrayed in films where there was a suspension of disbelief or a metaphysical component that allowed us all to accept what was happening because, well, it's just not real. It's, you know, it's a monster, it's a demon, it's something else. Or it was portrayed in the kind of John Wayne cowboy way where somebody would get shot and the guy would fall, and you know, you didn't see it. You saw the result from a distance in a long shot, or you know, people would get shot from close and they would just make this minor grimace, and that would be that. But in this picture, it was the first picture that didn't have a metaphysical component. It didn't ask you to suspend disbelief.
It broke the proscenium.
It allowed the audience to come up close and personal with what, you know, a man's inhumanity to man really is.
No, that was man's inhumanity to women.
and
Well,
women's
man
inhumanity to
in
women.
the broader sense.
Men are not broads, women are broads. Why is he confused? He knows big words, but he's not that smart.
You had me fooled.
And the one thing that we did get from Hollywood was little Sandra's death. First he rapes her, and then he shoots her. She falls in that cesspool, floats face down, and she didn't die.
She walked out. They found her.
Oh, you guys didn't see that. They cut it out.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
actually a scene where Mom and Dad find her
And she's
near
still
the
alive.
lake, and she's still alive.
Yeah.
Right.
She said
Actually,
something.
it's in one of the prints.
Yeah.
It is in one of the prints. Yeah. And that that's another thing. Now, you can go back to the directing thing, okay? Wes
The intestines.
Wes
Tell 'em
wanted
the
us to
intestines.
play that hard, and none of us would do it. We really put our foot down in that scene. We said no.
We
They're-
didn't want to do
they're-
when they made them wet their pants.
Yeah.
Frankly, I wanted to leave, and well, I was told this movie, none of that stuff was going to be shot, and then
Even
we
with
get
their
there.
sensitivity.
No, it was, to tell you the truth, it was really humiliating and horrible for all of it. For the women, it was.
Ooh, I liked it. Piss your pants. How many girls piss their pants?
You
No,
still
guys,
like it,
We
Fred.
don't.
I want to tell you, she didn't really do
A
it.
lot of guys
Oh,
say,
no,
"Would you like to have dinner?" Fred
She
says, "Can you
didn't
piss your
really
pants?"
get her pants. They gave her a bottle of water to squeeze or something. She did not really do it.
So men don't know how women pee. We pee like we write our names. If you go in a men's room at a bar, it is so disgusting. You go into a ladies' room, it's so beautiful. It's like, don't they actually pee?
That's right. they
Check
did
out the
all
ones in this hotel.
That's why We're
The
fascinated
reason-
by that. Actually, the first time I ever seen somebody pee was on the subway on 14th Street. It was a big lady. And you know what? I'm actually ashamed to say I was only a kid. I was maybe, I don't know, 14 or something, and had my books and I was walking, and she went up on the steps and she pulled up her dress and she looked right at me and she peed and she started cackling. You know what? I got a hard on.
And you think I said something bad?
There's no way to top that. I gotta
The reason that Marty hasn't said anything, I think, Marty, you're missing your, what are those, the Horton?
No, I'm living in overwhelm.
Horlick milk balls or whatever they were you were popping in the police department?
I'm just endearing to Fred. One day I'll be able to
Marty and I
do all
used
this
to be
with
pals.
wits.
We haven't talked to each other in 30 years since this movie.
He has
And you
learned
still have a
know
lot
it.
to say, right?
No, the fact that I have twins, and when I first saw this movie, I think Orion distributed it years ago on video, and I was doing Cagney and Lacey at the time, and they gave me a copy of the movie, and I hadn't seen it in 15 years. And at that time, I just had newborn babies, and I was overwhelmed by this movie. It's like the thought of
Of your children
growing
ever
up
seeing
to be
this.
teenagers and finding characters like you all.
When I met Richard, I made him promise to never see this movie. We had an agreement, and then I found out
I went
one
to
day that he owned it.
Because he's a dirty old man, you didn't know that.
But I mean, you know, Wes Craven makes such terrific pictures now, and it just is a migration of what we do at the beginning of our careers,
Yeah.
and just
We were-
transformation. You know,
Right.
he's such a
He
terrific
moved up.
filmmaker.
The
He
effect,
doesn't return anybody's phone calls anymore.
He does return yours,
what's interesting is the
He
effect.
used to return mine 2 pictures ago.
but he don't.
The effect that you guys, the effect of the film on you guys is temporary in the sense that you can walk away from it, and you don't have to carry it with you. In many ways, and I say this for myself, I can't speak for anybody else, but in many ways, the effect on me in this film was permanent. I mean, this is totally, as far as I'm concerned, a reprehensible character, and this is not me. I mean, yes, I'm loud, yes, I'm physical, and I played rugby, and I did all that kind of stuff, but I'm not. It's just, I don't live anywhere close to the way this character lived. I don't even. But there was an effect. There was a trickle down effect.
I
Are
actually
you
have
making fun of
hated
me?
this movie my entire
We're
life.
saying, what I'm trying to say is, yes,
I
you
have
got
never been
typecast.
more ashamed in my entire life than I was about this movie.
Somebody asked me for their money back at the premiere.
It was
And I was
green.
walking. I
It
didn't
was
even have enough
green.
money to take a cab home. I was gonna walk, and they demanded their money back from
The
me.
sound was so awful. I thought, Jesus, why are people paying money to see this?
86th Street Theater, the Lexington Avenue Theater.
But then I have a question for everybody. We all complain about it as actors, and we all remember the quality of it being so horrific and all. I'm kind of curious why whoever's in the audience is a huge fan of the movie.
There might
really
not be
very
any.
interested.
There may not be any more.
Are there people who are have been huge fans of this movie over the years?
It's a great conversation piece.
I'll tell you, I saw this when I was in 5th grade. I rented because I liked
What family did you grow up?
And it traumatized me so much that movies usually don't affect me. I had nightmares about it until this year when I finally rented it again. It wasn't quite as bad as I remembered. But I had to respect it because it affected me so much for such a long time.
What is it about it that affected you guys? I'd like to know. Where did it hit the vein?
See, for me, it just, I've been a horror fan for, I'm like 31 years old. I've been a horror fan for like 16 years, 17 years. And to me, this movie just kind of really set the tone for everything else. And even though I saw it when it was, it was already pretty old by the time I'd seen it,
Right.
I see how it kind of set everything off. And I just kind of look to it as a classic,
Mhm.
for the horror genre. And I just like it so much because, number one, they don't make too many movies like that anymore. And I don't know, I just like violent movies, and that's it. But I also think that, like your character, David, and the characters you played in Hitchhike and House on the Edge of the Park, I just feel like it's just like some of like the all-time greatest villains and just evil characters. and I just enjoy it. I don't know. To me, it's entertainment. To other people, it's disgusting. To me, it's
Why is such an evil character? Why such a psychopath? So it's enjoyable. That's what
because
that's
I'm
really,
not that person.
okay.
And so I'm
That's
watching
why
it,
I
you know what
like
I'm
coming
saying?
here,
I
'cause you
enjoy it
guys
as
are great
escapism,
people.
and
It's
it's just
fantastic.
very enjoyable. And you know, you give like intense performances.
So you don't
in
have to
movies,
identify with it. is
and
what
the
you're saying.
characters are just very memorable, and
Yeah.
there's no one out there like that anymore.
Thanks.
So, thank you for that.
I think one of the things about it is like, I know how you say, you know, you're not that person, and
Yeah.
you have to just, but you know what, I think for me, like, this is one of the only movies I've watched once, I own it, and I probably will never
Yeah.
watch it a second
Wow.
time ever again.
Okay.
And it's probably
Good for you.
because, no, because it affected me so badly the first time, and it's not because of the fact that, the person is so over the top, it's the fact that, you know what, there are people out there like this who do these kind of things, and these things.
Oh, it's a cautionary tale for sure.
And it's
Absolutely.
I think it might be the way it's either the way it's filmed or just that the way it was, the violence was just so in your face.
Yes.
The realism of it. It was
Do you
just
know that the
kind
guy
of like-
that, I don't mean to interrupt you, hold on to your thought, but the guy, you talked about the way it was filmed. The guy that filmed this, Vic Hurwitz, was hit by a car, I think about a year later in New York and died. He was the first person to use a Steadicam. He invented his own Steadicam. So what you see running through the woods there is all Steadicam stuff 15 years before the Steadicam was invented.
Yeah, that was sad.
I didn't know that.
Any other, I'm sorry, did you want to continue?
I just think that maybe it's because of the fact that probably because some of the work I've done in my life, like just knowing that there are people out there that think this way and act this way. I think that's what just put it off for me. It was like, yeah, this is a movie, but you know what? This could really happen. It has happened. Something like this.
Well, I've seen the DVD, and the one thing that I really hated about the movie in the beginning was technically it was awful. The film version was, the sound was bad, the mix was bad, the music was overpowering, the cuts were bad because, you know, the MPAA said to them, you can't have that. They just went, and then I found out, I've been reading that projectors, the guys in the projection room were ripping film up too. They were censoring parts that they didn't like.
Wow.
But now that I see the DVD, I do see the attraction. The bad guys especially, and the violent scenes are real. They're almost like documentary, is what they're like. Which was one of the things that the critics said that I found so offensive. This one guy said, I felt ashamed because I was rooting for the bad guys. And all I could think of was, we're acting, you moron! We're not really bad guys, we're actors!
We'll take a couple more and then we gotta go.
Who said that?
Back
Well,
there.
I'm talking, you.
Well, yeah, I'm just shutting you up.
One of my favorite scenes is the suicide scene between you two.
Yeah.
When you
Blow your
talked
brains
him
out?
into suicide. Was that a one-take deal?
Well,
Or
no,
was that
because there's two
something-
shots.
No, it was done in a couple of different parts.
Okay.
If you remember how it goes, the shot is on David, and then you hear the gunshot go off camera.
And then you go to him.
Okay, and then you go to me,
Sliding
and
in.
I'm standing there holding the gun, and then you look and say, "Oh, what are you going to do? Shoot me?" Okay, and then it goes to me, and what you have is you have me responding to him. His voice is off camera, and it's then it's back on him. Blow your brains up. Blow your brains up. The gun goes off, and then it goes to a shot. So it's all done in pieces. And I don't recall how many takes each piece was, but
I
in
don't
between,
think we didn't do a long because we
not a
don't.
lot, because we had to take time because there was there was a
The
shot.
prosthetic.
Yeah, there's some footage that you guys that never ended up in the final cut, and they had sewn a prosthetic brain matter thing into the back of my head that took a very long time to do because it was about kind of like that and had perforations on its outer ring, and they used my own hair to sew it into, and there were shots of me on the ground with that and sliding down. And I had to bang my head up against a wall and explode a little blood pack. So it was done in pieces.
Anybody else? One more?
One more.
Is it on Netflix.com?
Probably.
Everything is.
I would think.
My bar mitzvah's on Netflix.
A lot of big chains don't carry it at all.
Target does.
Oh,
Target
I've
does,
seen it
but-
in Blockbuster. I see it all over.
Ending music?
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh, no, that was cockroaches.
just finished up a Q&A down here in New York. Yeah, question and answer.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all very much.
All right, man. I'll call you back.
Mario.
Thank you all.
Thanks for coming, guys.